So now we're going to have a look at, within our insert effects, the phase modulation oscillator. Now, we don't automatically think of Massive X as being an FM synth, but it has some really spec'd up FM synthesis functionality. And you can actually think of it as being a 7-operator FM synth. So operator refers to the components that we have within an FM synth. Because as we know from the first section of the video series on the wavetables, we have phase modulation or frequency modulation, which is what it essentially is, capabilities there. But we also have phase modulation from within the insert effects. And we have that by choosing the phase modulation oscillator. Okay, so let's start off with just that empty initialized blank patch. And I'll bring an insert effect up here and load in the phase modulation oscillator. Now, as I said, this is an oscillator which can be modulated by its input signal. Now, at the moment, it doesn't have an input signal. But let's route it to an output, so we're going to get to actually hear something. And let's route oscillator 1 to the input of this insert effect. So now this wavetable is going to be modulating the phase of the insert effect oscillator. So without any phase modulation, we have a basic sine wave. And as we bring it up, we start to introduce the phase modulation. You can think of phase modulation as being akin to frequency modulation. So you can hear that start to take effect. Now we can decide to pitch our insert effect phase modulation oscillator. And the more harmonious the relationship between these two oscillators, the more it's going to sound harmonious. If we go a bit more dissonant, we go a bit more into the effect sound kind of realm, so it's less traditionally pitched and more dissonant in terms of its sound. So let's think of some other routings for this. Well, let's take our main oscillator and route it straight to the output so we can hear that sawtooth wave playing. And let's take a noise oscillator and we'll route that through to this phase modulation insert effect. Let's take off that main oscillator. So you can hear there we're modulating the phase of this insert effect using the noise. Try some different options. So we can obviously make some pretty creative sounds that way as well by selecting a noise oscillator to modulate the phase modulation insert effect. And remember there's 3 of those, so that's only just one of them at the moment. So that could be nice dialed in alongside our main wavetables. Let's choose something a little bit more experimental. So we get all that nice kind of Foley sound almost, like non-pitched kind of upper frequency sound, which we can layer to create sounds that really nicely cut through. Okay, so hopefully that makes you clearer on the phase modulation oscillator. Now let's have a look at some of the other parameters we have here. First of all, we have invert. Now this is going to invert the polarity. This So this is going to slightly change the characteristic of the sound. It's like flipping the phase. Obviously pitch we've looked at. Now we have different pitch modes, so we can key track, so it's mapped to MIDI. We can fix. Now whatever pitch I play on the keyboard, now the wavetable is following the pitch because it's not fixed, it's key tracked, whereas this is always going to stay the same. We could also make this a ratio. So you can think of that as multiplying the frequency that we're playing on the MIDI keyboard. So that would be double, that would be 4 times, that would be half. Okay, so phase modulation amount we've been through. And the mix control is going to dial in a blend between the input signal and the sine operator signal. So all the way to the left, we're only hearing the input signal. And as we turn to the right, we're dialing in this waveform. Okay, so something else to bear in mind with this, as we remember from when we looked at the oscillators, we have this auxiliary bus here as well to be able to modulate either of our wavetables using any other signal we want. So what we could do, just take that off a second. We could route, let's move that over here, the phase modulation insert effect we have here to the phase modulation auxiliary, and then we can use that to modulate either of our wavetables. Let's put this back to key track. So now we have this insert effect being routed into the phase modulation auxiliary bus, turned up here, and applied to effect wavetable 1. So in that way we can use these to modulate our main wavetables as well. Really, really cool. So having these extra insert effects phase modulation oscillators just expands the capabilities and the sound design possibilities of Mass Effects hugely. Really, really powerful.